Thank you for having me. The old days when you had a spread of cancer, people would, give up. So, there's no hope. In fact, it's been a trend to actually treating single spread. So with either radiotherapy, just a single dose of radiotherapy to knock it on its head, or even surgery, sometimes in the liver, to remove the secondaries with some quite good effects. What's this stereotactic body radiotherapy? And how does it differ from other technologies and radiation oncology? Then we talk about conventional X-ray therapy units. We normally think of giving sort of like smaller doses every day over the course of say 4 to 5 weeks, and usually these are given and say 1 or 2 fields, like meaning that the actual beam is coming from a few places only. If you actually talk about SBRT, we are talking about trying to break that up into say having hundreds of beings coming in from hundreds of, if not thousands of like different angles, sort of colliding at the center. So it is to try to treat small areas because that's all you can really do. Say, 5 to 7 centimeters maximum in size, and by colliding in the center it gives an extremely high dose or a hot dose in the middle. And the actual amount of radiation actually falls off really quickly. And it's important because say, you have a tumor that's to the stomach. Well, you can give a high dose to the tumor and give a very low dose to the stomach. Another key part of the a technology which is often lost though, is that people are breathing, right? People are moving. Ultimately is to try to only turn the beam on as the person's tumor is in the correct spot. So you're like a sniper in a sense with a moving target, and you're going to pull the trigger when the tumor is in your sights. Exactly. And you chose well. At least one of your targets was chocolate mousse all the time in your lung. Yes, what the energy oncology group had done right is to try to kind of get together hundreds of institutions and then try to come up almost at the cookbook for how do we define how well you have to hit a moving target, and then also how to do quality assurance on that, right? How to make sure that the institution is doing these types of procedures actually hit those targets. So tell me about the study, the Energy Oncology BR-01 study. It's funny. I actually proposed the study all the way back in 2007, right? Is this idea of sort of sniping single areas of spread was becoming more popular. I was kind of laughed at the time, but everybody kind of kept with it. So it actually opened in 2014. It was a study which is essentially about 7 studies in one. It was to take patients who had oligo metastatic either breast, prostate and lung by all legal medicine. There's only 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah, actually, up to 4 here, right? So the point of this here was that we knew that people had been able to say, effectively hit one thing most of the time, but how would we design a study to hit 3 or 4 things at a time? We came up with sort of a cookbook to say, well, okay, so how could we do this paratectic thing and not just on a single spot, right on 3 to 4 spots at the same time? If you have hundreds, if not thousands of beams coming in from all over, well, then you can start to cross the beams. So you could imagine if you had a tumor in the lower part of the right lung and the upper part. Well, you may have beams crisscrossing, so we had a club at the way to define how you would do that. And then also the fact that each of those spots could even move independently, so basically, it was designed to assess if our sort of cookbook could be applied across hundreds of institutions, and to see if it was actually safe to treat 3 to 4 areas at the same time and in a variety of tremors. Yes, it was in breast, prostate and lung cancers. And what did you find? So first, and we had a set of quality assurance, and all of the institutions had to prove on a pretend patient yet they could, in fact, hit these targets. And then after the quality assurance was done, we then also did it real-time checking of like each plan by the all investigators prior to any patient being treated. We found, at least in our sort of defying time point, which was 6 months of serious adverse events, that it was actually 0%. We follow the patients though, because so many lived a very long time and some are still alive. And we found that 3 to 4 years. I can down the road, though, some sort of long-term like toxicities are in fact happening. So say, we had a perforation in the small bowel or we had closure of the after-gas, which had a heavy surgical procedure to be like dilated. None were life-threatening per se, but I think it shows that, especially in medicine, you have to do long-term follow-up because it is quite easy to think something is safe and it's critical to do these expensive trials to really follow patients long-term. There's been a trend to what's called hyperfractionated radiotherapy, which is higher energy shorter courses with radiotherapy to single metastasis. Here